Around the year 1805, one pirate confederation, a group of fleets under one command, ruled the whole coast of southern China. 400 ships, tens of thousands of fighters. It beat the Chinese navy. It fought the Portuguese to a standstill. And the British sold it gunpowder. And then its leader did something almost no pirate in history ever managed. Walked away, rich, pardoned, and later died an old woman, in her own bed. Yes, a woman. And almost everything you have been told about her is wrong.
Femme fatale histories. The women history called wicked, and what they actually did. Tonight, Ching Shih. The pirate who beat an empire and walked away rich. And whose real story the West quietly rewrote.
The time is the early 19th century. The place, the Qing Empire, the largest empire on earth. But on its southern coast, the state was weak, and the sea was stronger than the throne. This is the Pearl River Delta, a maze of water, islands, and fishing villages pouring into the sea by the port the West calls Canton. One of the richest trade routes on earth, silk, tea, silver. And the Qing Empire cannot protect it.
Why not? It's the biggest empire in the world.
Because the empire faces inland. Its army guards the north, not the coast, and the navy out here is old and small. And the sea has flooded with fighters. Next door in Vietnam, a rebellion hired Chinese pirates as a war fleet, trained them, armed them, then lost. Thousands sailed home to nothing but crime.
So they organize.
They do more than organize. By 1805 they merge into one alliance, 6 fleets, each under its own flag, red, yellow, green, blue, black, white. Tens of thousands of men, hundreds of ships. The strongest is the red.
And let me guess. The red flag is hers.
The red flag is hers. But she does not start at the top. She starts as a wife. Here is the honest problem. We barely know who she was before. Not her birth name. Not exactly where she came from. What the popular books tell you is that she worked in a floating brothel in Canton. You will read it everywhere.
Okay. A prostitute who marries a pirate. That's the story everyone tells.
It is. But go back to the oldest source, a Chinese account written in 1830 by a man who lived through it. And that word is not there. Not once. No brothel. No flower boat. Nothing. The oldest record just calls her Madame Shih. The prostitute comes from later writers, not from the record. Keep that in mind. It will happen again.
Noted. So who does she marry?
In 1801, she marries a pirate leader named Zheng Yi. This is where her name comes from. Ching Shih is not really a name at all. It just means Zheng's wife. History remembers her only as somebody's wife. Then, in 1807, her husband dies. Not in battle. His ship goes down in a typhoon, and he drowns.
And she takes over. Just like that. A widow grabs a pirate fleet of tens of thousands of men.
Not just like that. And she did not grab it. Here is what the 1830 record actually says. When Zheng Yi drowned, his widow gave one part of the fleet to a young commander named Zhang Bao. And she took command of everything else herself. The record is blunt about the order. The captains answered to Zhang Bao. And Zhang Bao answered to her. She did not seize power. She already had it. She just stopped hiding it. So what did she actually run? Not a mob. A machine. The fleet had written rules, and the punishment for breaking them was almost always death. Every coin of loot went into one shared fund.
That's not a pirate gang. That's a tax office with cannons.
That is exactly what it was. It taxed villages, sold protection, and gave receipts. Whole stretches of coast paid it like a government. And the most famous rule was about women. Take a captive, and you could not touch her. Death.
Wait. Death even if she agreed? On a fleet with thousands of men? Come on.
It sounds impossible. And here is what the popular story gets wrong. That famous code, the one you have heard, was written by the pirate queen herself. Read the source. It says plainly the rules were set by Zhang Bao. The man. Not her. Western writers moved his code onto her later, because it made a better story.
So if the code wasn't hers and the fleet ran itself, what did she actually do? Be honest.
She held it together. That was the hardest part. 6 fleets of violent men, any of whom could turn on the rest, and she kept them all pointed the same way. She controlled the money, the pardons, and the marriages. The men did the fighting. She decided everything else. Now, the young commander. Zhang Bao. Chung Po Tsai. His story is strange, even for pirates. He was a fisherman's son. As a boy, he was captured in a raid by her first husband, Zheng Yi. And Zheng Yi did not kill him. He adopted him, raised him, made him an officer.
Hold on. Adopted son. So when she takes over and marries Zhang Bao, she's marrying her dead husband's son?
By law, yes. Adopted son. No blood between them. And by the customs of the time and place, this was allowed. But I understand the look on your face. It is a lot.
It's a lot. So which is he to her? Her officer? Her lover? Her husband?
All 3, at once. He was her second in battle, her lover in private, and later her husband on paper. 3 kinds of power over one man. In every one of them, she was in charge. He commanded the ships. She commanded him. Around 1810, she has a son with him. But before that son is born, everything is about to change. And away from the cannon smoke, there were quiet hours. Before first light, on the deck of her own junk, she kept her own books, by lamplight, alone. The tallies. The debts. Every share of the loot, counted in her own hand, while 100,000 men slept and waited for her to wake. Before we get to how she wins, we have to be honest about what this fleet was. This was not a film. In 1809, Zhang Bao led a raid on a village called Sanshan. The eyewitness who wrote our record was clear. Over 100 villagers killed. More than 1,000 people carried off. The houses burned. He wrote that for days the smoke did not stop, and in the whole village you could not hear a single dog or chicken.
That's the same fleet with the "don't touch the women" rule.
The same fleet. A rule on paper is not the same as mercy. The record keeps going, and it is hard to read. More than 100 women hid in the rice fields. Their babies were with them. The babies cried from hunger. And the pirates followed the sound of the crying, and found every one of them. We will not go further than that. But you should know it is in the record, written by someone who was there. This is who she led.
Hold on. You said she beat 3 navies. When does that actually happen?
March 1809. A Qing admiral, Sun Quanmu, comes for her near Dewanshan Island. She takes command herself, the Red Fleet and the White Fleet together. She sends Zhang Bao ahead with about 10 ships to hold the admiral's front. While he is busy with those 10, she brings the rest around both his flanks and leads the main attack herself. His fleet breaks.
So she is not just the owner. She is running the battle.
She is running the battle. That same year her fleet kills a Qing brigade general and takes 25 of his ships. So the empire stops fighting alone. In September, Macau sends warships. Portugal brings 6 warships, 1 big one and 5 small. 120 guns, 760 men. The Qing brings 60 war junks. And at the final battle she has 300 ships, 1,500 guns, 20,000 men.
And the British? You said the British.
The British never fired a shot. Their frigate sat in Macau harbor the whole time. But British merchants sold guns and powder to her. They wanted the Portuguese to lose. In January they finally trap her fleet in a bay at Lantau. The Qing admiral sends in 43 ships.
43 burning ships into a crowded bay. That has to be the end.
Her crews row out, turn the ships aside, tow them to the beach, put them out and chop them up for firewood. Then the wind changes. On the 29th she breaks straight through the blockade into open sea. The Imperial fleet loses 3 ships and 74 men. She loses almost no one.
So who actually won?
Both sides wrote that they did. Portugal's records say they cornered her. China's records say she smashed them. Same sea. Same months. 2 winners. What we know is what she still had at the end. When she made her deal in April 1810, she handed over 226 ships, 1,300 cannon, and more than 17,000 people.
So how does a fleet like that ever end? Somebody that powerful doesn't just stop.
Money and salt. And betrayal. The empire tries something smarter than fighting. Pardons. A pardon, surrender, and keep your life, your loot, even a government job. The alliance only held together while they were winning. The Black Flag fleet takes the deal and turns on the red. Suddenly, she can lose. Here is the turn. Because there are 2 ways this story could end. And the way the West chose to tell it is not the way it happened.
Let me guess. Men with pens. Again.
Men with pens. Again. And it runs in almost a straight line. Everything the West knows about her comes from one Chinese book, written in 1830. A German scholar translates it in 1831. His translation has errors. In 1932 a British writer, Philip Goss, retells it, and that is where Zhang Bao's code becomes hers. In 1935 Borges turns it into a short story. Borges could not read Chinese. He worked from the flawed translation.
So basically the whole legend is a game of telephone.
A game of telephone. One book, passed hand to hand, each writer adding a little. And every change goes the same way. The fleet gets bigger, about 400 ships at its peak. In pop history that became 1800. Her origin gets dirtier. The record says Madame Shear, pop history says prostitute. And the code moves from the man to the woman.
Okay, but hold on. Making her a bigger pirate, a sexier pirate, a woman who wrote the rules herself, that sounds like they made her cooler, not worse. Isn't that a compliment?
That is the real question of this whole episode. Because in China, this did not happen. The Qing filed her under a plain legal name, Zheng Yi Sao. No monster. No whore. Just a person they had to deal with. It was the West that could not leave her alone. And here is the strange part. No portrait of her survives from her lifetime, not one. The fierce woman swinging a sword on a deck, the picture you find in books and even in museums. That was drawn for an English adventure book in 1836, 26 years after she surrendered. Not Chinese. Not from life. Historians treat it as a fabrication, a costume the West put on her. So how does it really end? In February 1810, the first talks break down. She demands to keep 5,000 men and 80 ships. The government says no. And then she does the thing no one expects.
Which is?
She goes to them. Herself. Unarmed. To the Yamen, the government office. Her captains beg her not to. They tell her the officials cannot be trusted, that it is a trap. And the record saves what she said back to them.
What did she say?
She said, "The viceroy, the emperor's highest official in the south, came here alone. I am only a woman. Why should I not walk into his hall? If anything happens, I will bear it. It has nothing to do with the rest of you." And she walked in. A few women and children with her. into the seat of the empire that had spent years trying to destroy her.
And she just walks back out?
She walks back out with a deal. In April 1810, the surrender is real, and the terms are hers. The pirates keep their loot. Most are pardoned. And Zhang Bao is given a rank in the Imperial Navy. The man who raided villages ends up a government officer. She is not punished at all.
So what happens to her? A pirate queen doesn't just retire.
She does exactly that. She moves to Macau, opens a gambling house, and trades in salt. She dies in her own bed in 1844, about 6 to 9 years old. People say her family still lives in the city. Think about that. Almost every famous pirate you can name was hanged, shot, or drowned. She kept her money and died of old age. She is one of the only pirates in history who won, and got to keep it. The West could not say that plainly about a woman. So they made her a lucky prostitute. She was not the only woman who ruled at sea. And she was not the only one the record changed. She ran a whole port city in Morocco and sent a pirate fleet across the Western Sea, and still, the writers of her own people barely wrote her down. Even her real name is lost. Sayyidah al-Hawara only means the noble lady. She led 200 fighting men and a fleet of galleys off the coast of Ireland, and once sailed to England to face the Queen herself. The records skip her. We know Grace O'Malley mostly from her enemies, who called her the nurse of every rebellion. When their ship was caught in the Caribbean, the men hid below deck. And Bonnie and one other woman stayed up top and fought. A few years later, a man wrote her story and turned it into a romance. When the King of France executed her husband, she sold her land, bought 3 black-sailed ships, and hunted his men across the sea for 13 years. Her name was Jeanne de Clisson.
So every single time a woman runs a fleet, and the men holding the pens either wipe her out, or turn her into a fantasy.
Ching Shih got both. China wrote her down and moved on. The West turned her into a legend. And a legend is just a lie you are allowed to enjoy.
She beat an empire and died rich in her own bed. And for that, the West made her a whore who wrote a man's rules and led a fleet 3 times too big. Next time on Femme Fatale Histories, another woman history called Wicked. Until then, here is the question. They did not forget her. They remembered her as someone she never was. So which is worse? To be erased, like the women no one wrote down? Or to be remembered your whole life as a lie? Tell me below.